You're listening to episode number 7 of the Indie Film Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi everyone, welcome to Indie Film Tribe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to introduce to you this lovely casting director that I have on the line today. She has cast What If a Woman, an episode entitled Darling Nikki. She's also the casting director of My Name is Lamar and a feature film that's currently in post production entitled As Evil Does. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeannine Fisher. Hi, Jeannine.
Hey, hi. How you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much for being here today. I think this is going to be very informative, and actually one of the reasons that I wanted you on today because I know there are so many independent filmmakers that have never used a casting director before to cast their films and might want to know a bit of what that process is like. Then B, actors. We have a lot of actors listening as well, and just I would just love to hear any sort of guidance that you might have for them. Let's start at the beginning. If you don't mind, first and foremost, what is a thing that you love about being a casting director?
The thing that really gives me energy is I love the idea of connecting actors with directors and producers and putting them together so that they can create the magic. So I kind of like being behind the scenes type of person, but I love the creativity that happens between actors and directors and what it turns into, whether it's stage or television or film. So yeah, I love just watching the process and being able to put the two parties together.
Now, when you cast, do you always have the director in the room, or is that something that you do later on in the process? How do you work?
Well, I actually am very open. So
Hmm.
sometimes the directors and the producers want to be in the room, and I'm totally fine with that. Sometimes they want me to take care of the whole casting session because they're working on other elements of the project.
Wow.
And then what I'll do is I tape all of the auditions and I'll edit them together, and then I'll present it to the director and the producer along with my recommendations. But of course, they have the final say so. So I do it both ways. It depends on what the director and the producer needs are.
And let me ask this because I think as actors, this can come up for us a lot, especially when we don't get a part. Do you find sometimes in working with directors that they have like, a handful of actors that they're like, okay, you really need to see this person, or this is the person that I want, but we'll see other people for this anyway? Does that ever happen?
Um, Not so much where they say this is the person that I want, but we'll see other people, but they'll have a wish list
Uh-huh.
and they'll provide me their wish list, and me and my assistant will schedule those people in for an audition, just like I have my own wish list after I read the project and I know so many actors and I'm thinking, okay, this person would be great. I have my own list. So I take their list, I take my list, and then I do a put out a breakdown for people to submit, and I'll call those people in. So it's a mishmash of all of it.
Ah, got it, got it. So this kind of pop makes me think about like, okay, let's say I'm an actor and I've gone in to see you on a project, a year ago. I don't get the part. Is this where your list of actors come from? Just from the actors that have come and seen you throughout the years? Do you just sort of keep a file of folks that you really admired?
Yeah, my file is ridiculously big at this point. It really is. So, yeah, it's a combination of actors that I've seen in the audition room before, but also when I go out, if I go to a comedy show or
Uh-huh.
if I go to a play and I'll make a mental note. So I've met a lot of actors over the years, so I have a mental note of them, but then I also have a file that I keep that I can draw on. So let's say I need a 7-year-old Caucasian blonde haired male.
Mm-hmm.
I have a file for that so that
Wow.
I can draw. Yeah.
Wow. Then what about these actors that send you their headshots or postcards? Do you keep those or do you toss them? Funny question.
I don't like the unsolicited. I really don't care for that. I'd much rather have their material that matches a current casting.
Right. So it's not just
Otherwise,
random.
it gets to be incredibly overwhelming. I mean, even when I put a breakdown out and I get all of the submissions, that can get overwhelming sometimes. So to add on top of that, people just sending me stuff randomly, that doesn't work for me. So the ones that where people send it to me randomly, I discard those. But if someone sends me something for a specific breakdown, I will keep those.
Uh-huh. Got it. Got it. So you're kind of looking at actors that are smart about the way they submit. It's not just
Mhm.
random. That makes sense.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think, besides just getting sort of random submissions, what is the most challenging thing about being a casting director
About being a casting director. For myself,
for you?
probably just like actors trying to find the next gig because I'm independent casting director. So just like actors have to go out there and find their next project, I have to go out there and find my next project as well. And that can be challenging because it's either feast or famine.
Wow. Gosh, you know what? I never really thought about that. But hey, Indie Film Tribe members that are listening or watching and you need a film cast, here is your introduction to Jeannine Fisher. She is looking for projects. Fantastic.
I am looking for projects, yes.
And what is the most challenging thing for you about working with actors or having actors audition? What do you see as being the sort of common pitfalls that many actors fall into?
There's a couple things,
Hmm.
and I've actually addressed this previously on my casting Facebook page. The one thing that I really want actors to know when you're going out for an independent project, you still need to have your headshot and resume. I know a lot of casting directors do the electronics now, but you still need to have a hard copy because if we don't need that hard copy, fantastic, you can take it back home with you. But what happens with independent casting a lot is after the casting session, we will take all of the headshots and we'll lay them out across the table and we'll start matching people up and we'll
Ah.
start talking about them. And what has happened more than one occasion, someone has come in, they don't have their headshot and resume, and guess what? After 4 or 5 hours of casting, we don't remember them. When we're spreading out all of those headshots across the table, they can easily be forgotten because we don't have their headshot in front of us. So I strongly, you don't have to have as many of the hard copies as you used to have years ago,
Right.
but you still need to have current headshots that you bring in and present to the people in the casting room. So that's huge. And it's really sad, Angela, that I have to say this, but I will since I have the platform to say this. Um, the actors really need to have their headshot and their resume attached. You would not believe how many people come into a casting room, headshot in one hand, resume in the other.
Are these children actors?
No, these are adults. Actually, most of the children, um, their headshots and resumes are very much together. And by the way, let me just kind of digress for a little bit. Children don't need professional headshots unless they're big league. If you're doing the independent thing, if you're doing the student film thing, children don't need professional headshots. Don't spend the money because they change so quickly. For children, a nice snapshot will
Hmm.
suffice. But our adults, yes, headshots with the resume attached.
That's a good point that I never thought about because it's true. A kid will look different 6 months from now. They're going like
Yes,
this. They grow like this. That's so
right.
true. Wow.
Right. So just like they grow out of their shoes and their clothes so quickly, they grow out of their headshots. So no need to put that big expense unless, like I said, you're in a higher level. But if you're uh, independent films and student films just getting started, don't worry about that. It's really not necessary.
Okay, thank you for that. That makes so much sense. And I know we talked a little bit about actors. I want to shift, if you don't mind, for the first time directors or even screenwriters that are listening right now and they have a project, they've never used a casting director before. What do they need to have before they reach out to you? How do they need to get their ducks in a row? Like, what are you looking for?
Um, the first thing that they need is a solid script.
Mm,
Many times people are so excited about their script, and I get it, and I'm excited for them, but you never present your script until you have your final rewrite. Don't give me something that has to be rewritten over and over and over again. Once you have the script that you're going to use, the second thing that you need to do before you reach out to any casting director is to have your budget.
uh-huh.
You would not believe how many people want a casting director to start casting and they have no budget in place. And that's a problem. And you have to talk to each casting director separately to see what they are willing to do. But at this point, for me, I am not going to work on a project where the actors do not get paid. I respect actors too much, just like you have to pay your
Yep,
editor, you have to pay the company that you rent your camera from. Everybody's getting paid. I feel very strongly that the actors should be paid as well, something. Because,
absolutely.
I mean, even if it's a stipend, you have to give them something. They're spending their money to get on a train or to put gas in their car, to get to rehearsals, to get to table reads, to get to the shoot location. They need to be compensated. So I don't work if the actor's not getting paid. The only caveat to that, if it's a student film, I'll
Okay.
do it. And if it's a PSA,
Uh-huh.
I'll do it.
Because that's being
But
of
other than that,
service.
right. Other than that, I'm not working on a project where the actor's not getting paid. The other thing is there's a lot of really talented actors who are non-union.
Yes.
And that's great. You have a little bit more flexibility if you're going non-union, but if you decide that you're going to go with a union project, then you need to have your ducks in a row. I actually am dealing with a director, a writer director, and his producers right now, where they wanted to start casting, but they don't have their SAG papers. And what I'm telling them is you can't put the cart before the horse. You need to get your LLC
Yep.
so that you can get your production company, so that you can get your SAG papers, get your budget, and then you can call on the casting director.
Okay,
So,
so real quick, I want to reiterate that one more time. So first thing you do, you get your
the
LLC.
LLC, so that you can get your production company. Once you get your production company, then you can apply. If you want to go SAG, you can go through the SAG office and get your SAG paperwork. Because what will happen is, let's say you're so excited, right? And you want to go SAG, and that is your plan. It's not in place, but that is the plan. But you want me to start casting for SAG actors. When I go to submit that breakdown, they're going to stop me and say, okay, because they're going to check with the SAG office to see if it's actually registered as a SAG project. And if it's not, the breakdown is not going to go out anyway. So you have to have your SAG papers in place first before you start your casting.
And just to clarify, for filmmakers that are maybe going to, do let's say, a non-union film, but they're going to hire one actor that's SAG. Just to be clear, and I'm sure you know this, obviously, that even if there's just one SAG actor, that then the entire project has to be SAG.
Hmm.
I just want to make
Yeah,
sure filmmakers are aware of that because it could be a tricky thing. It's like, oh, but it's just one SAG person, just one. It's still non-union. It's like, no, by under the rules of SAG, that entire project then has to be a SAG. It's an ultra low budget project, but it's still
right.
SAG.
And to add on to that, because we actually had this happen when I was casting for a stage production.
Hmm.
And if you have equity actors, um, if it's an equity project, your stage manager has to be equity as well. So so not just the cast, but your stage manager has to be equity as well. So
I did not know
yeah, you
that.
really yeah, if you wanna go union, and there's great benefits to going union, you just want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. And if you go to the SAG website, all of the information is there that you can study up on.
Yeah, no, they're great. I've always had a wonderful experience with SAG. Once you get a person attached to your project, a SAG person, it's pretty smooth. They're wonderful. They've been
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, now I want to find out which one of your projects, Jeannine, are you most excited about right now?
Well, let me just say I'm proud of all of the projects that I've worked on
Yes.
because they've all had some level of success and notoriety. But the project that I recently completed is called My Name is Lamar. It's a short film, and it's written by Dale E. Turner. And if you're not familiar with Dale, you have to look him up online. He is phenomenal. Great guy, um, stupendous singer,
Ooh.
and wonderful character actor. Oh, he can sing, just ridiculous. But anyway, he wrote this short film, and it's true. It's about something that happened to him 40 years ago, and he was able to just brilliantly write this script. I don't remember how many pages that it was, but it's like 7 minutes and 25 seconds or something like that. So it's super short, but it is so powerful. And they've just started submitting it for film festivals. But one of the ones that he submitted it for is the Idlewild Film Festival, and it absolutely swept every nomination for actors. So it's nominated for Best Actor, nominated for Best Actress, nominated for Best Supporting Actor, nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and nominated for Best Ensemble Cast. So pat on my back for that.
And I was
It's
just gonna
I'm so proud.
say, that must make you feel so good.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm it's super, super excited for the actors because they did a phenomenal job, and it's a very difficult piece. It's about race relations, which is so on time right now. So it was a very difficult piece, but they're such strong actors. So I'm proud of them, but I am proud of myself too, because I feel like I have an eye for talent, and something like this kind of confirms what I was feeling. So I've learned
Yeah.
over the years how to toot my own horn. So toot toot, yeah.
No, and that's fantastic because I was going to ask. Okay, so going into this project, did they have any idea about casting or is that all on you?
Well, the people that I worked with, the director who is fabulous, De Palmer, she's done quite a few projects, got a lot of accolades, and the producer Marvin Glover, he has a lot of experience as well. So they know um, about casting because
Good.
they've worked with other casting directors in the past. But
Great.
Linda called me and specifically wanted me for this project. So they knew about casting, but what they said is that they wanted to rely on my expertise. So, and this is a good example of what we were talking about earlier. They made some recommendations about people that they would like to see that they thought would be good. and I made some recommendations, and then we put out the breakdown. And the cast wound up being a combination of
Oh,
people that they had chosen, people I had chosen, plus people from that submitted from the audition. Yeah.
wow, that's terrific. And I'm looking at this IMDb page now. My name is Lamar. Racism is not determined by geography or age. This film looks at one such incident. I want to see this film. I want to see this film.
It, you know what? I just got an email this morning that Dale is doing a screening in January. Would you like to be my guest?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And
I'll give you the information later. You can be
no.
my, it is powerful. It really is.
And as you know, that is my mission as well as a filmmaker to focus on films that do bring light to subjects like racism, homophobia, all these things. So that is right up my alley. I would love to go see this film.
Hmm.
Wow. Oh, how exciting. All right. So this is the project you're most excited about. Um, this is a question that we're going to veer off again. I just love to ask this question because it allows me and our listeners to kind of learn another kind of side about our guest. And it's just sort of a philosophical question just for fun. Jeannine Fisher, do you feel like you were put on this planet at this particular time for a specific reason, or do you feel that it's just random?
No, it can't be random. I don't think
Mm,
that anything in the universe is random. I absolutely believe that I was put here in this place in this time for a reason. Now, if you ask me what that reason is, it's it's a continual discovery. Like I see where um, I am of benefit and help and support to other people so that they can be benefit and support and help to other people, kind of like a ripple effect.
mm,
Um, but I can't say that there is one thing that I'm put here to do. Um, I think that I'm put here to do many things,
yeah,
and they get revealed in time.
absolutely. Love that answer. Love that answer. Thank you.
Hmm.
I want to ask you a question about black filmmakers, filmmakers of color, actors. In the broad spectrum of this industry, how do you think things are going? Are they getting better? Do we have a lot more work to do? Are we cool? What is your opinion? I'm just curious.
You know what? That's so funny that you asked that because I just had a really long conversation with a well-known Black director just yesterday, and we were talking about that very thing. And um, what I'll say about the industry is there is still a lot of work to be done. Um, and not only as far as Black actors or Black writers or directors, but just kind of um, every level of the entertainment industry. Um, Casting directors. I think there needs to be more high profile casting directors also. There's a few high profile casting directors that we all know their names, but exactly. But there should be 15 times that many, just like there are for the our counterparts. You know, there needs to be more of that. I think that diversity in the entertainment industry is still very much lacking. I think that there's certain steps that are being taken. And when I say diversity, I'm not just talking about a color diversity, I'm
Of
talking about
course.
age,
Yep.
I'm talking about women, I'm talking about people with disability. Because when you look in society, you have all ages, all colors, all sexes, people with disability, people without disability, but we're not being equally portrayed in society.
And
So yeah, that's and I would really love to and that's what I'm working towards being in a position where I can affect change. Where I can suggest because you might have a character that is, 25-year-old black male, college educated. That could be the breakdown. But why can't he be in a wheelchair? Why does he have to be walking? Why can't he be in a wheelchair? And why can't we look for casting for someone who really is in a wheelchair than putting an able-bodied person in a wheelchair?
This is so interesting that you bring this up. First, it makes me think of obviously As Evil Does, the feature film that you have.
Right. That's right. Mr. Cobbs is in a wheelchair.
Yes. Then it also makes me think about that show on ABC with Mimi Driver, Speechless. Speechless. This is, and I believe that actor is obviously there's degrees to disability, but I do
Mhm.
believe that he is actually a disabled actor that is playing a disabled character. And I mean, I think this is one of the first time that we've seen this on network television
Hmm.
and really kicking butt. Incredible.
There was a young man on Glee, but I don't, was he
Ah,
really wheelchair
you know what?
bound?
I don't know. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure either. But I mean that's nice because it's showing that progress is being made, but there's so much more room to grow. But kind of because I kind of a little bit got off.
It's fine.
Back to um, talking about African American Black filmmakers. And this is something that I spoke with the director about yesterday. Okay, we are perceived in this country and internationally by what people see in media. So I feel so strong. I mean, every story needs to be told, but I think that we've relied very heavily on. I want to choose my words carefully here. Um, Urban topics quite a bit, and there's so much more to us. And I would just love to find filmmakers who are writing and producing stories about the diversity within the Black community and getting it out there so that people can, we're not just all this type of Black woman and we're not all this type of Black man. There's just so much diversity to us, and those stories are not being told. So I really want to get with filmmakers who have a social conscience and kind of want to elevate us to the next level in their work.
And this is, as you know, one of my passions. I'm all about creating content with a conscience because obviously I feel that is so necessary in our world right now, and as you do as well. So any writers or filmmakers or actors that are trying to create their own content, listen to what Jeannine is saying and sharing with us today. These are the kind of projects that she's looking to cast as well. These are the sort of projects that are absolutely necessary in this world right now. So, thank you, Jeannine. I just want to sort of take a moment to acknowledge you. First, to acknowledge you for being a Black woman in casting in Hollywood. As you and I both know, this is such a rare thing. Very rare. I believe there's four or five of you that I know off the top of my head. And I'd like to also acknowledge you for having the willingness and the openness for wanting to be a part of projects that show diversity, and not just diversity as a whole, but diversity within the African American community as well. I think that is so important, and you are just speaking my language, lady. So, gosh, no, thank you. And I say this because it's true. Not every Black person comes from the hood. I'm sorry. I don't. You know what I mean? And I don't see myself always represented. You know, people that look for me are always from the hood. Always. That's just not true.
It's not true.
We come from
And
everywhere.
it
We're
is our
everywhere.
responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility but within our own community to
Yep.
change the perception.
Yes.
And I don't want to get into the person's name that I was speaking with yesterday, but he told me that he has gone to other countries where they say, "Oh, you speak very well,"
Yep.
or and he said that someone asked, "Oh, do all black women when they fight pull each other's hair?" Making note of one of the reality TV shows. So the and perception is reality.
Whew.
Whether we agree with it or not, perception is reality. And filmmakers, actors, writers, producers, directors, you all have in your hands and in your creative body to start to change that perception. Yes, it's going to take time, but you have the power to start changing that perception of how people think of us through your work.
You nailed it. You nailed it. That's exactly it. That truly, really is exactly it. What book, if there is a book, that you would recommend just for people in general that you think has really either sort of shaped you as a woman in this industry or that you think just really fulfilled you just as a person? What book would you recommend for artists?
I don't really have a book that I would recommend for artists, but one of the books, when I used to work in corporate America,
Ooh.
that I read and really helped me was Coaching to Performance. And Coaching to Performance talked about the cycle of providing feedback to people and how to coach them to achieve higher levels in whatever work that they're doing. And I used that a lot when I worked in corporate America. And what I found is that I was able to actually use some of those techniques with casting in a casting session. So that has worked very well for me. I'm sorry, I don't have a good book that I
That
can
sounds great.
recommend for actors.
No, that sounds fantastic. Coaching to performance.
Hmm.
Does that ever happen in a casting room when you're having an audition and you just see an actor just kind of struggling, if you will, to get their lines out, to get the words out? Do you ever find yourself in a position where you coach them through the audition, or do you just kind of figure it out?
That's a good question because it depends.
Okay.
It depends. So, and this kind of goes back to one of the questions you asked me earlier. Um, Let me just start with this. Actors, when you come in for an audition, please look like your headshot. You wouldn't believe how many. Let me give you an example. I had an actor submit, it was a female, and just beautiful hair. And she came in and clean shaven. I don't know why. I don't know if it was a health issue. I don't know if it was a fashion choice. I don't know what it was, but she did not look like her headshot. Um, and it's okay if you've changed something, but on your submission, every submission that you do, like through LA Casting or Actors Access, there's a place for you to write a note to the casting directors. So, like I've had people say their picture is brunette, but they say I'm now blonde.
Oh, okay.
So say that. Um, so if an actor comes in the room and they're struggling with their line and they don't fit the breakdown at all,
Okay.
I'm not going to coach them through it because I already know that this actor is not going to work out.
Right.
Okay. Um, if an actor comes in and they're struggling and I feel like that there's something there and we have time, I will take the time and coach them through it. Or if the director, especially if the director's there, I back off and I just
Gotcha.
kind of sit quietly and I let the director do it because those are the two they're going to be working together on set. So the director will do it, or if the director's not there, then I'll do it. So yeah, we will coach people through. And even if somebody comes in and they nail the audition, um, one of two things happen. If they come in, they nail the audition, they got the look, they fit with the rest of the cast, I don't need to see anymore.
Right.
It's a done deal. So they might be in there for 2, 3 minutes and they're out the door. Someone can come in and they can nail the audition, but I want to see if they're coachable, if they can take that adjustment. So even if they nailed it just the way that we want it done, sometimes we'll ask them for another choice just to kind of see can because actors, they're going to prepare for their audition and they have it down, they know how they're going to say it, and that's the only way that they can present it. So can they think on their feet?
Yep.
So, and I'll normally do that if the director's not there, because I just need to know that they're directable, if they're coachable.
That's so smart, and it makes so much sense because, as you know, on set, sometimes last minute things happen. We
Hmm.
lose a location, and now we're gonna shoot the scene here, and we're switching up the lines a bit. So now our intention's gonna change.
Right,
So important, and you need actors that can just go with the flow.
right.
That's
If you're rehearsed through to the point where you can't make any changes, that may not work.
yeah,
So we need to know that you can make adjustments.
that you're malleable.
Hmm.
Absolutely. If there's a filmmaker that's listening, a new filmmaker, and they want to hire you, how can they get a hold of you? How can they find out if you guys would make a good fit?
Um, they can contact me on social media. I'm on Facebook at Jeannine Fisher Casting. I'm on Twitter
And really
at
quick, Janine, just so I just want to make sure everyone hears this. This is your casting Facebook page, right?
hmm
The one you
hmm
were talking about earlier. So it's Jeannine Fisher Casting,
hmm
and that's the
and Jeannine
Facebook.
is Jeannine.
And I'll be
So you
sure to
spell Jean and then nine and put it together, and it's Jeannine.
Janine. And I'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well. I'll have a link. So that's your Facebook. And then are you on Twitter or any other?
Yeah, I can be contacted on Twitter at Jeannine Casting. I'm also on Instagram at Jeannine Casting. And then I have my website, which is JeannineFisherCasting.com. And I can also be emailed at JeannineCasting@yahoo.com.
Okay. All right. Great. And again, I'll put those in the show notes. And just again, for you filmmakers that are listening, before you reach out to Janine, make sure your script is in tip top shape. An LLC is formed, right? Is that the second thing you said?
Well, yeah, the LLC, the get your production company and get with SAG.
And get with SAG. And speaking of, what if someone has a non union project? They're not doing a SAG project. Can they reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. I do union and non-union projects. Hmm.
Okay, all right, fantastic. Last two questions. One is going to be for our filmmakers out there, and one is going to be for actors. In your opinion, what is the number one tip that you have for actors?
My number one tip for actors is to not give up.
Hmm.
When you come into that audition room, you've done your homework, you've done your preparation, you go in there, do your best. Casting directors want you to book. We're rooting for you.
Do you hear that,
So,
people? Do you hear that?
ab-
Casting directors want you to book.
yeah, because you make us look fantastic. We want you to book. So, go in there, do your absolute best, and then leave it alone. Don't worry about it because you can worry yourself sick after you leave out of the audition room. If you've done your best, you have done your job, because there are many things that are outside of your control that determine who gets cast and who doesn't. So just know, as long as you've gone in there and you've done your absolute best, you have done your job. And don't give up. Just keep on doing it, keep on doing it, keep on doing it.
Love it. Tip for actors, guys, don't give up.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, what is your number one tip for filmmakers?
Um, for filmmakers are very, very creative people, and I love that about them. But you have to put some business sense with it as well. So you can't just stay in the creative space. At some point, you have to look at the business side of making your film. And if you don't have that skill set, and there's nothing wrong if you don't have it, then you need to connect with someone who does have that business sense. Because you can be as creative as you want, but if you can't put the business piece with it, the film is not going to go very far if it gets off the ground at all.
That is the truth, and that is something that I have been learning all 2016, all year, and it's oh wow. It's been quite the journey, but so important. Jeannine, thank you so much for spending the time with me here today. This has been just so informative, and I really encourage filmmakers reach out to her, say hello, send her your amazing scripts, right?
I would be more than happy to help anybody make their film. I genuinely, thoroughly enjoy casting. Like a lot of people, they can't stand the casting process. I love it. So when you love something that you do, you give it your all. So with me, I mean, I always give it my all because I like it. I love the whole process of it. So
Mm.
I'm ready. I'm ready when you are.
All right, guys, she's ready whenever you are. Thank you so much, Jeannine, and thank you, Indie Film Tribe, for hanging out with Jeannine and I today. And until next time, y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.